Uh,
Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome to the second episode of the Tribe Table Talk podcast.
what up, though?
Where five Christian guys come together and we put it all on the table. Of course, I got Cal in the building. I got Dion. We got Wes, aka the sports guy. And we got Ernest Tisdale. And of course, Kenny Cotto, yours truly. How's everybody doing today?
Good, man. Real good.
Chilling,
Right.
laid back, as you can see.
Early.
New settings, you know what I'm saying?
I was gonna say you got the new digs.
Bro,
New digs.
Dion got the fitteds on deck, bro.
On deck.
What you need? What color you
Literal.
need? You know what I'm saying? It's like candy over here, the candy shop. What color you need? I got you.
Bro, you should just
It's
don't
great.
Dripping like water.
at your own time, bro. You should just switch hats mid episode. Like, all right,
What you want, though?
you
The
know.
green joint over here? I
Are
got
they
you.
all the same team, Dion, too?
Nah, man. Some of them got D on it, and some of them got NY, Kansas City. I think this one right here, Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see it, bro.
That's what's up.
I ain't
Yeah.
bought a hat in 6 years, bro.
I like that, bro.
I ain't bought a new hat in 6 years. I'm good.
Now I know where to go if I need to fit it.
Exactly.
Real,
I
bro.
don't even need to go to Lids. I just go to Dion's house.
Got it. Liz ain't got it. I got it.
Yo,
You
yo,
got it, you don't need it.
y'all ready for the 4th of July?
What's
Oh,
that?
yeah.
What's that, bro?
4th of July.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what we
we-
do on that? I know we don't go to work that day. What we do on that day? We grilling? What we doing? Grilling and fireworks? That's the holiday, right?
Yeah, bro.
I bought my fireworks.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
we chilling, bro. We grilling out, of course.
Yeah.
You know, need me a good burger. So
So
I'm ready to
Yeah.
not work.
you guys buy some fireworks?
Nah, I was gonna come to your house, man. I ain't got none.
I ain't getting
I
none
bought-
this year.
I bought
yeah,
some.
I ain't getting none. Probably
Yeah,
gonna
I heard they real expensive this year.
E, what you
Yeah.
got over there? You grilling? You
No, I won't even be in town. I'll be in like Pittsburgh
ooh.
for the week. Yeah, I'll be in
Oh.
Pittsburgh for the weekend. We hanging out with the Weiss family this weekend, so we'll be in Pittsburgh. I think we're in Pittsburgh. We're gonna go see grandma too.
Okay.
So it's my kid's great grandmother.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so she's 90, I think 96, I
Okay.
believe. But so we'll be there, see how grandma's doing.
Shout out grandma.
Yeah, so grandma's
Man.
cool though. Grandma be like, "Hey, good to see you." And
Shout
out to
talking
Grams.
to you now.
96, bro.
Yeah, bro.
96. That's that age where you can say whatever you want.
Exactly, bro.
Shout out to my granny.
Man,
Minnie, how you doing?
I mess with Bree all the time. I'm like, man, when we get old, get ready because that's the age, bro. That's 70. I'm gonna go walking through Meyer with my underwear on. It's like, hey,
You're gonna be that
Hey!
guy, huh? You're gonna be
Yeah,
that
I'm
Yeah.
that stranger.
I would be that dude, bro.
You're gonna be that guy.
Move. I swear.
Oh,
swear.
gosh.
That is funny though. It's like the
Around
older
the
you
car.
get, the more you feel like you can just be open to say whatever is on your mind.
It's for real, bro.
Like for
And peop-
real. For
That's
real.
true.
And people just they accept it, man. Like,
Yeah.
I think the older people know too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like once you reach, I don't know what, 70, 80, I don't know. You just be like, listen, you ugly. You know what I mean? You say whatever you want.
you be like,
65, bro.
you be like, yes, sir, I'm ugly.
Yeah.
Say
Respect.
whatever you want, right? It's
Oh
like-
man.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
65. That's the year, bro.
Is that the year that you can just transition and say what's on your mind?
I mean,
Is that
technically,
how it
you done
works?
been here longer, so you
You
earned that
seen it all.
birthright.
Yeah.
You didn't earn
Yeah.
that birthright to talk all the craziness you want
All the
Yeah.
craziness, bro.
and speak about Christ. And they already
Yeah.
think you crazy for speaking about Christ, so it don't even matter.
Yep.
All right.
That's funny.
Yeah, man. So today's topic was something that I'm particularly passionate about. We already got some feedback about, man, this is a much needed topic to discuss. So so I was like, yo, let's talk about the family unit. And particularly because we are fathers in here, fatherhood, and just how important it is, how it contributes to the strength of a family, and how it contributes to raising our children, man, raising the next generation.
Mhm.
You know, one thing that even when I was a kid, I could trace all the way back to me being a teenager or even younger than that. I was blessed growing up with two dads. You know, my parents, my original birth parents, like divorced when I was like, you know, 5 or 6 or whatever. My mom remarried when I was 7, and you know, my dad, who you know was my stepdad at the time, became a big part of my life. And so I was blessed to have two dads that was in my life. And then me growing up, man, it always broke my heart to see whether, you know, family members, sometimes cousins, sometimes friends at school that didn't have grow up and have that privilege to have a father in the home. And also later in life, you know, working at a place like Wedgwood Christian Services, where I was at, uh, you know, working with at-risk youth of all different colors. And, you know, they would have a, you know, significant amount of trauma, and it manifests in so many different ways, right? So like some kids will have just mental health issues. Some kids will have some, you know, very, you know, emotional regulation issues, you know, can't handle their emotions, you know, not able to handle their anger in a healthy way, sexual issues. And they all had different, you know, different ways of it manifesting. But the one common denominator that I saw in each and every one of their files was the lack of a father in the home. And I think it's so understated how much of an effect that has on the kid, you know, boys and girls. You know what I'm saying? So, so it was something that always pricked my heart. So even when, you know, like for example, like when Wes was doing youth ministry and you know was doing youth ministry with Ernest, we still saw that from time to time. You know what I mean? You would never know sometimes though, because you know some of these kids would present themselves very well, or you know, not to say that single moms can't do a good job. That's not what I'm insinuating at all. But sometimes you would talk to some of these kids and realize that you know a lot of times there's no dad in the home, and it would prick my heart to sometimes step up and sometimes be that father figure or be that role model for that child. You know what I mean? So let me read off some to you guys that Obama said a long time ago in a speech he said, which was very interesting to me. He said, children who grow up without a father are 5 times more likely to live in poverty and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in prison. There was some more statistics I was going to say, but I didn't grab them. But I know that fatherlessness is talked about a lot in minority communities, but I think it spans, and I think there's no color to it, in my opinion. I think there's Black fatherlessness, there's you know, Hispanic fatherlessness, and then you even have that issue even in the white community. Now sometimes you know this is like blown to a way where you know we forget to highlight the fathers that are actually in their kids' lives too. You know, like all 5 of us, right? But I really think that in this society that we're living in now, and I don't think it's just started. I mean, it's been happening for years, but I think that there's a real attack on spiritual attack on families, and I think a lot of ways that the enemy tries to break families is through the head, which is I believe the man. And I you know we can you know some people might view this to be like, oh, what you talking about, the man, you know, this and that, and I really believe that God put male as the head, meaning the leader, the in the home, you know what I'm saying, to be that what's the word I'm looking for, the one who is responsible for setting the tone for the family.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
I think
yeah,
the
go
key
ahead, bro.
word, I think the key word that you said is leader. So a lot of people would probably say or think when you say the man is the head of the house, they automatically think dictator.
Yep.
I
gotta submit.
Yeah.
I don't want to submit.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Leader and dictator are 2 different things.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And when I think of a good leader, I think of somebody like Jesus. Like Jesus wasn't like, we're gonna do this because I said so. Like he was a servant. He was washing cats' feet, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So when I think of a good leader, I think of somebody that's inclusive in decision making, and is serving the people that they're leading, gets down to their level when they need to, but is able to make decisions, and that's prayerful decisions. So
Yeah,
I family on his back.
Yeah, I wanted to make that clear because that kind of came to my mind.
For sure.
That's a good point. I'm sorry, Ken. Another good point with that, though, is that Jesus loves so much that he died. Right. So when you're talking about being a leader, you don't make it about yourself anymore.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, servant leadership. Right. So and as a husband or as a father, I think that is so key that we're here. It's not about us. Right. And I got to go scripture. Right. The Bible says, deny self, pick up your cross and follow me. Right. And I think that's a prereq for all Christ followers, because it goes before that. It says, deny your mother, father, brother, and sister, deny self, pick up your cross and follow me, pretty much. Right. And so I think that's so key when you're talking about leadership or talking about the man being the leader or the head of the house. So I think we also have to say, okay, what is a leader and what is a servant leader? That is somebody that steps back and say, this mission is not about me. And it's about where Christ wants me to be and what Christ wants me to do and how he desires of me and what he desires of me. And I think a lot of times we get confused in that when it comes to marriage, when it comes to fatherhood, because we make our decisions based off what we feel is most important. And we have to step back and say, okay, what does the Lord believe is most important? How should I be as a father? How should I be as a husband? So I'm stepping ahead. I'm sorry, Kim, but
you're good.
Those are the things that come to my mind when you start talking about leadership and headship and things like that. So
and the thing is, like, sometimes for some reason, I don't know, people tend to skip over the conversation of fatherhood when they come to talking about the problems and the issues that we see in society, right? Whether we're talking about the rise in crime, cities with 500, 600, 700 murders in 1 year. When you're talking about poverty, you know what I mean? When there's, people living below the poverty line, when you're talking about early teen pregnancy and stuff like that, people tend to talk about it in an aspect of the government should do this to fix that, or we need more money to fix this. We need more social programs to fix this or that. But people tend to really sometimes not really talk about the root. I believe the root of the issue is, I believe, it's a lack of male leadership in the home and broken families. You know what I mean? Think about how many people we know or we knew growing up, and they grew up with just, with just one parent in the home, whether it's because their father left them or whether because divorce, right? Which is another thing, right? Divorce is rampant, and not just in this, in the world, in the church. And it's a really heartbreaking thing. And I think that Satan is really, and Satan understands this, right? When we look at any city, right? What makes up a city? Well, a city is made up of communities of people. Well, what makes a community? Community is made up by families, right? And what's made up by families? Families are, strong families are built by strong marriages. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a real attack, and just people grow up sometimes, I think more and more people are cohabiting. You know what I mean? Not really necessarily committing to marriage. And, I read an article the other day how marriage can be a solution to poverty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes we talk about all these different issues and it's like, bro, like, get married. Like, you know what I mean? Like, bro, don't, you know what I mean? Like, even a father presence in the home does so much. And I'm not just talking about just being there, right? We're not talking about just a father just there, goes to work, sits on the couch after work and say, hey, I provided, leave me alone, you know,
Yeah, I'm
and
here, yeah.
right, but
A lot
actually
of
being,
dads like that, bro.
being present with your children,
Being
and
engaged.
right, exactly, being engaged and really actively, you know, molding them and shaping them. Because at the end of the day, we can talk about, man, the schools don't teach this, schools don't teach that. You know what I mean? But what are we teaching our kids at home? Because that's where it is. That's where it is.
That's the
You know what I mean?
foundation.
Exactly. That's the foundation. I always tell my kids, look, I can take you to church, I can take you to a million youth services, but I still got to teach you the word of God at home.
Yeah.
I still got to, I, me, am the one that's responsible for discipling my family. You know what I mean? Not the youth pastor, right? Not right. Not the school, not the school teacher, right? But me. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes that's missed a little bit.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we have to really focus as fathers. Like I don't know if men sometimes understand the trajectory that you set your kids on based on what kind of father you are.
Yeah. I was just
You
gonna
know what I
say,
mean?
I was gonna say, like, even as babies, I read something that talks about, I learned from my mom too. She works in the baby scholars program for Spectrum Health. And it talks about the playfulness, like father roughhousing play, and what that does for children's motor skills. And it's just like sets them so, you know, on a curve, a path for success, because they're learning those motor skills, they're picking up things, and they're more confident as they grow. It's just so much stuff attached to that. So that alone, just that engaging playfulness, that can put your child on the right track.
So you saying if I go in DDT baby boy, he'll be
That's what I'm saying.
Right. This
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Oh man, that was my dude
all
too.
day long.
Calvin, no wonder why you be throwing Junior so high in the air, bro.
Man.
No wonder he's jumping off
madness.
2-story buildings already.
That
real,
dude,
bro.
That dude gonna be in roller coasters like
not impressed.
Oh, you scared? Oh, you scared?
That's a testament to it, man. And it was like, man, that's wisdom right there. So I took it.
Man.
I'm like, my daughter, I'm tossing her around. It's like, man, she's developing. So yeah, it's definitely a method for sure.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing with Harmony. I'm testing her, man, and she's a bit of a daredevil herself, and my wife Bree gets pretty nervous whenever I'm messing around, but yeah, she hit her limit the other day. Like I turned her upside down.
Tombstone or something?
No, I just had her by her legs, bro. I had her by her legs, and I was about to like spin, and she was like, sorry. She wasn't having it, bro.
She like, pin me down. What you doing?
Hey, look, this ain't child abuse, man.
Right.
Wait until you see his comments after this.
You talking about the baby or Bree? Who freaked out, the baby or Bree?
Both. Well, the baby first, and then Bree.
Does Bree even know this?
Right.
She does. She was in the
Harmony
room.
walking?
She's in the room.
You might be setting yourself up right now.
Hey, CPS. Hey, chill out. Chill out.
Motor skills. We build it here.
Exactly.
Be careful on building your child's confidence like that. You got my daughter standing up on tables and jumping off.
Man.
She only 19 months.
Man.
I mean, yeah. She can't.
Too much double-edged sword with that.
You say it again?
Definitely a double-edged sword. They start walking early and all that. I'm like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm asking Wes if Harmony walking already.
She'll stand up.
Okay.
But she'll just like she'll just like pause and be like, all right, what do I do now? And then just kind of fall back down. But any day I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. Oh,
you gotta know she can do it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I just put him up against the wall and just let him stay there for a minute, but he just fall back and then he'll crawl. Like when babies crawl, man, like I didn't believe people when they said that they was fast.
Bro.
Dude.
Bro. Yeah.
One speed.
Man. I almost tripped over him, trying to catch up with him. I almost tripped over him over here, man.
You can't get caught lacking for a second, bro.
You can't, man. You can't. I'll have my head down, and then we have a dog, and she's obsessed with getting in the food, into the water. So I'll put my head down first. Yeah, bro.
Yep.
I'll put my head down for a second, and all hear is just like hand in the water, or she'll turn over the whole bowl, just like, bow.
And laugh. Laugh her head off.
It's a game. It's a game.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
You know something that's funny?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ken. I know you
Go ahead,
trying to
bro.
do a segue. I feel a segue coming. That boy's like, yeah.
Hey, we at the table.
Yeah.
We at the table, bro.
Hey, at the table. Go ahead. Go ahead.
He's trying to figure out transition. How do we transition back?
We let God do that, bro. We let the Holy Spirit do that. Y'all listening?
That's funny. I love it. Hey,
thank y'all for listening, man.
I love it.
For sure.
What I was gonna say, it's funny though, because okay, so Ken, you became a father first at the tribe table, right?
Yes, sir.
And then I had Amora, and then came Calvin, right? Junior. With Junior. How old is Junior?
He's 4.
Okay. And little Kenny is how old, Ken?
9.
Oh wow.
I know.
Man.
I know.
Teenager.
Bro,
He said teenager.
I think I'm gonna cry when he get double digits.
Yeah.
For real.
And then came Wes.
No, D.
Oh, D first. That's right.
True.
D.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, little man turned 10 months yesterday, man.
He like?
Yeah, he got me by like a week or like 8-9 days.
Yeah, like a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was crazy, bro, because y'all had kids at the same time, and me and Ernest had our daughters at the same time.
Same time.
Yeah, that's true.
Literally within days of each other.
Yeah, bro.
It's wild.
Eli don't like me, man. I don't know why.
He don't like dudes, bro. Like he love the ladies, man. Like we
Love the ladies.
Ladies, man.
He went and got pictures done, and like he was all over photographer, man. Like I can't keep this dude off of get off her, man. Like
Little
get
mini.
off of her.
Got a little ladies man on your hand.
I don't know who he get that from, bro.
I was gonna ask that. Where did that come from?
Little
I don't
mini
know,
Dion.
man. Don't ask me nothing.
Do-rag.
Man.
Little do-rag.
Oh yeah, we got a
Right.
little do-rag too. Bro.
Hey, all
We
I
had
know,
to
Dion.
bronze it.
All I know, Dion, is when our kids turn like 12, tell Eli to keep them hands off.
Hey, look, me and Jasmine already had that discussion. I'm like, look, bro, don't touch nobody else's kids, bro. We want people to keep coming back over. You know what I'm saying? Don't be touching them little girls. Don't touch West, baby. Don't touch Calvin's, baby.
You know what I'm saying?
Do it, bro.
Keep my eye on him, man.
Them all family members. Don't touch nobody.
Right.
You got to make them see that so they don't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
But yo, back to what Kat was saying, like, yeah, man, even the things that we sometimes take for granted that we do with our kids is part of their development. You know what I mean? So like my kids love, especially my boys, they love to play fight.
Mm.
You know what I mean? We'd be sitting in them wrestling. They'll ask me, like literally, sometimes I'll just be chilling and they'd be like, Dad, can we play fight? And I'm like, they enjoy this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially for boys, you know, they get better with their aggression. You know, I take it as an opportunity to teach them a little self-defense and you know what I mean? And just imagine sometimes kids growing up without that outlet to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I have this one memory, man, that keeps coming to my mind. And I don't know if it what happened in that moment, but I remember being at church one time. You know, you guys know I used to volunteer in the back in the audio visual department. And I remember church was over and they dismissed, right? And so, you know, you remember how church used to be dismissed, so you go and pick up your kids. So I went, oh no, I'm sorry. I didn't go pick them up. My wife went to get them. And I was sitting there at the table doing this, you know, my thing, doing the switcher or whatever. And my Kenny Jr. was he was little at the time. I think he must have been like, maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3. And he saw me, he was like, Daddy. And then he ran to me and just like, you know, was just excited to see me. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I started, my eyes started tearing up. And I don't know what, it was the Holy Spirit in that moment. I don't know, but it's just like, my heart broke in that moment. And I was like, because I thought about all the kids, you know, I thought about like my kids. You guys know that feeling, right? When you come home from 8 hours, I mean, we all working from home now, but you know, we come home from working the whole day and that exciting feeling when you open the door and your kids are like, "Daddy," you know what I mean? And I guess that's what came to my head in that moment, and it just broke my heart because I realized how many kids don't have that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? How many young boys don't have the opportunity to say "Daddy" when their dad comes home? You know, and it made me tear up, bro, in that moment. And it was like, you know, like people were around me, and I'm like trying to turn my head because I don't want people to think, man, what you crying about? You know what I mean?
Yeah, uncontrollable.
Yeah.
That's
But it was
definitely
just
Holy
like,
Spirit, bro.
yeah, I was just
What you
crying.
crying for, bro? I'm a man.
Right.
That's why I'm crying.
And it just came out of the blue. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, wow, you know, and so I just really, my heart broke in that moment. You know what I'm saying? It just, you know, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Ken.
You good?
You made me think of Dion for a second when you made that comment too.
Yeah.
So D, kind of how was your life growing up? Was that kind of, was your father in your
I
life,
knocked
or
my
how?
headphones out, yo. If I can rate my own life, I don't know if y'all you know, ever experienced like playing by yourself.
Mm.
Like I
As a
had nieces
kid.
and nephews and stuff, you know, they all came over the house and all that. But yeah, man, growing up in a single parent household, and I was the baby too. I'm the youngest out of, I ain't even gonna say the number, but I got a lot of brothers and sisters. They was all older than me, so I couldn't really like play with them. Like they'll sit down and play with me or whatever. But like after everybody was gone, like it was just me. So
Yeah.
it was trash. But my overall life growing up in a single parent household, I would say it was cool because I learned a lot from all of them. Like there's elements of them like within me, pause. Like I got so many different things I learned from all of my brothers, man. And it actually kept me out of trouble. Like they kept me out of trouble. So hanging out with them even in my teens and stuff like that, and watching them like do certain things that they shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah,
It all kept me out of trouble. Like I seen that stuff and was like, okay, I learned from that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Or if I do this, don't do it that way. So I mean, all like I know some people don't grow up having like millions of brothers and sisters, but for me, like not having my dad there, I didn't really even notice. Like I didn't even really ask about my dad until probably maybe 5 years ago. Like that's when I actually sat down with my mom and actually discussed details about who my father was and what he did, and you know the troubles that you know him and her faced while you know dealing with certain issues in life. And I don't know, man, I'll just say that I'm blessed because I had that support system. It was dope. Other than them not playing with my toys and beating people at Street Fighter and stuff like that, it was dope, man.
Do you feel though, like growing up, did you see other kids with fathers, and if so, how did that make you feel?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like growing up, I had all my brothers, and then I learned what a father was or what a dad was. I was like, oh, well, dang, where's my dad? And then I seen other kids have their dads and have that embrace, and people saying that their dads behind them certain things. And me, I'm just like, dang, I ain't got no dad to give me nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was a bit jealous. You know,
okay. How did that translate into you now being a father? You know what I'm saying? Like,
bro,
how do you take that experience or whatever, and what have you learned so far having your own child and now being a father yourself?
I want to make sure that baby boy knows that, you know, I'm here for him. Like I want to be able to set him up for life, literally. Show him that love, you know what I mean, and the embrace, and you know, just be present. I want to be present all the time, bro. So I'm thankful that I'm working from home too.
Yeah. Especially with the babies, that helps a lot.
Yeah, you crawl in the room sometimes. I'm like, dude, what you doing in there? And when he crawled in the room, like that feeling you have, Kenny, like, you know, tearing up and stuff like that. Like, I won't say I tear up. I'm just like, man, like I get distracted from work. I'm on the phone with people. I'm, you know, sending out emails. I'm just like, dang.
Right.
Let's get this
I like
job,
to say,
man.
bro.
I want to pick my little dude up.
Right.
Bro, I like to say, like, it's your piece of your heart, bro, or literally your heart just outside your body, just running around. And that's distracting.
It is. And he looks so handsome, man. He's a handsome little dude, man.
Yeah,
He ain't on no social media either, so you just you're gonna have to see it either in person, man, or come get it in blood, bro. Because that's the only way you gonna see it, man. Straight up.
Funny.
That's how intimate and how special he is to me. You're gonna have to either come see me or catch us out somewhere. Because I ain't putting him on social media. I love him that much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel you.
No doubt.
I feel you. You know, growing up, me, you know, even with having two dads, you know what I'm saying? There were some flaws even in myself, you know what I mean, that I grew. We're all flawed, right? I don't think there's a perfect father on this Zoom, you know, on this podcast. But once I started learning some of the things that were shortcomings for me, whether I was selfish or whether I, you know, wasn't, you know, in ways where I was like, man, I got to do this. What really propelled me to get better was now that I have lives that I'm responsible for. You know what I mean? I always tell people like, yo, I'm not the toughest. You know what I mean? I'm not you know, I ain't a goon. You know what I'm saying? I ain't a killer. But
don't push me.
But when I
thought the same thing.
I don't walk around like I'm the hardest. But when it comes to my children, I become who I need to become. You know what I'm saying? And my kids and my wife too. Don't get me wrong. Marriage pushed me to be better in a lot of ways too. So let me not discount that.
No doubt.
Shout out to the wifey.
What up, wife? Hey girl. Hey babe.
But man, like there was some shortcomings in myself that it's like, how can I teach my kids that?
Yeah.
If I don't model that myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? A lot of us have fathers in our lives, but there are certain things that they, you know, for whatever reason, didn't really take the time to really sit down and teach us. You know what I mean? So it's like me being a parent, I try to make sure that I'm intentional in teaching them the values that I want them to have. And I want them to be better than I ever was. You know what I mean? I look at my son, you know, and I say, you're going to be better than I ever was. You know what I mean? You're going to be me 2.0. You know what I mean? Because I take the time to mold them. You know, discipline ain't just I'm spanking you because I'm angry because you piss me off. It's like discipline, and then okay, what lesson can I give you from this? Right? Because ultimately, our goal as fathers should be to teach our children, right? To teach them so that they have the skills necessary so that when they become adults, they're productive citizens of society. You know what I mean? Like, that's one thing that I'm passionate about when it comes to my kids. Like, if I look at my kids and I say, if you turn 18, 19, 20, 21, and you're not ready for the world, that's my bad. That's not society. That's not the president. That's not the school you went to. You know what I'm saying? That's my bad. That's me and your mom's bad. So these early years are really crucial in setting them up, you know, to my wife is taking the time to teach my kids how to cook. My daughter is only 6, my son is only 9, you know, but I remember being in college and not knowing how to put a meal together. You know what I'm saying? So really taking the time to make you guys know I'm all about maximizing my time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's something that I'm passionate about. And I try to say, what's raising my kids? Is the TV raising my kids or am I raising my kids? Right? Is the PS4 raising my kids or am I raising my kids?
You got to take a step back to see that.
Yeah.
Too.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the responsibility of being engaged. But every day when they're that young, just to take it back to stats, you know, they say from 1 to 4, 4 to 7, that's where the brain activity is developing the most. So why not use that as an opportunity to really instill crucial parts of their personality and who they are right then and there? And like, when you see signs of like you're saying, when you're monitoring, like, who's raising my kids, like making sure that, you know, they got healthy things coming through the ear gates, eye gates, things like that. But yeah, everything is an opportunity to learn. And I'm just trying to think of specific examples, but it's like, even when, you know, they do something wrong, or it's like something new is like starting to develop, where they're trying to see little things in their personality and their character, enable those things, you know, like sports, or if they like video games. My junior loves video games. Like, he plays Fortnite and all that kind of stuff. And so I saw that, and it's easy to find the negatives about having, you know, kids on games and things like that. But I kind of switch my mindset about it, of like, enable it for him to, you know, enjoy life and have fun with video games. But you can kind of see his brain developing too when I'm playing with him, because he really loves playing with me. So it's just that play aspect of what that's doing to his brain development. And so I can see what the good is coming out of, you know, me just sitting down playing video games. I can see his brain developing. He's 4 years old playing games with other 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds. And so you just got to find little pieces, and like you said, make sure the video game is not raising him, but using it as a tool, as an instrument.
Yeah.
So everything is a learning opportunity.
That was me too, Cal. As a kid, I beat Super Mario Brothers at 3, bro. Like,
yeah, bro,
with my older brothers. Dang. And video games, they do build coordination. So, I mean, I know the stigma behind it is like, you know, it has such a big influence, but you being a father, you are able to limit him into how much he's, you know, involved or, you know, influenced by it.
And check this. It's like, there was other things I was able to teach him through it, because it's like, he would play video games and get mad, and really get mad, and like be upset. And that's an opportunity to teach him about controlling his emotions. Like, man, this is just a video game. You know, this is, you know, you playing with your friends. Like, you don't need to be mad at your friends or just being mad about it. It's just relax. So, and like you said, with that, in that article you sent us, Kenny was talking about like how it helps, you know, boys, or dads really help boys with their emotional problems. Like, it's tough for the mom to be able to control that by herself. So
yeah.
A lot of lessons, bro, in video games. Like you said, getting mad. It's nothing like getting blown out by 30 points in NBA Live 96 by your big brother.
Bro.
Oh my God.
Did you say 96?
NBA, yeah.
95 too.
When we were kids, NBA Live 95, 96.
NBA 2K.
95, 96.
Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo,
Super
bro.
Nintendo,
bro. The classics.
No, that's not the worst. The worst is when you're a kid and your dad keep doing the same move on Mortal Kombat.
Oh my God.
Leg sweep.
Exactly.
Fireball, bro.
I'm done. I quit.
Or you play NBA Jam on computer and you win it, and they hit the little crazy full court shot at the end at the buzzer.
He's on fire.
Why?
Like, no! Ready to throw the controller across the room.
Bro, I seen my older brother do that, bro. Like, he broke whole systems, like the whole console. Like, he probably spent like thousands of dollars when the Super Nintendo came out.
I didn't
snapping controllers, throwing it across the room.
I done seen friendships end over video games, bro.
Yeah, bro.
It's crazy.
Were y'all the kids that restarted the game or turned it off while you was losing?
No, I was the person laughing while you was getting mad. I was that person. I see it in your eyes.
Now we fighting.
See, I was that person. I need to antagonize.
Yeah, man, forget this. Oh, reset.
Because my older brothers did it. I saw all of them.
No, let's start over.
Have tournaments around the house, bro, just breaking stuff. Them boys be mad.
Yo, I had it bad, and the thing is, I see that in my son. I had it bad. If you ask my dad, both my dads, they'll tell you I had it bad when it comes to video games. I was the type of person that I remember my mom having to. I had somebody babysitting me, and it was Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat was bad for me, and she had like a fragile controller. I think it was the PlayStation 1, and man, I lost in Mortal Kombat, and I think I was like in the basement, so it was like cement floor. And I was like, threw that mud to the ground. I'm shattered. And I was like, oh, snap. You know? And my mom had to pay them to get a new controller. And I had it bad. I remember snapping the CD in half.
Wow.
I had it bad. I'm telling y'all, man.
Oh my
And,
God.
You would be that person that I laugh at all the time. Like, man, we can't have Kenny over here.
Yeah, bro. You
Don't
mad,
bring the
bro?
controlling. Yeah.
You
I
be
was
laughing until you snap that game in half. You be like,
Well, yeah, and
told
then
you, bro.
then it'll go to a different place. Then we'll
I
have
was-
to tell the
It's
story
true.
about how we got here.
Dion,
yeah,
Dion be like, hey man, I'm bored. Hey, let's call Kenny over, man. Kill him in some video games.
You gonna
Bruh.
give us some laughs.
I was a sore loser, man. I used to get mad. I remember my dad. I was a kid, man. I remember him beating me in a game. I remember I cussed, and he was like, "What you say?" And I got in trouble. Like I had it bad, man. So now, fast forward to me having a child, my son getting really mad when he losing games sometimes,
Mhm.
and I remember a couple of times instead of me like just reacting like, "Chill out," it ain't that serious. I stepped back and I was like, yo, that's me.
Mm.
That's me right there.
Yeah.
And so I took that, just like Cal was talking about, I took that as an opportunity to say, Kenny, look, I used to be like that. I used to, bruh, I remember, and not just video games. I remember watching the Spurs and the Pistons in 05 and the finals. And I remember, I think it was like game 5 or something like that. And they lost that game. I had a phone. Y'all remember them old square Nokia phones?
Nextel joints.
Man, I got so mad. I threw that mug across the wall. That mug just shattered. Ding!
I'm surprised it broke.
Right. Them boys like bricks.
Them boys indestructible.
No.
We literally called them bricks.
I was able to put it back together.
Because they come off the faceplate.
Yeah. The mug shattered like ding. And yeah, I had bad anger.
They don't make them like that no more.
Yeah, I had a temper, man. And so now when I see that with my son, I'll be like, look, Annie, you got to control that. It's, you know what I mean? It's just a game. You lose some, you win some. Keep pressing. If you lose your temper, if you find yourself losing your temper, just take a break from the game. And I tell him, like, I used to be like that, so I can relate. You know what I'm saying? So just being that father in his life that can help him kind of process that is so crucial, But it's just funny because sometimes we see the things in our kids and I'm like, yo, now I know what my mom and dad was going through.
Yeah.
I grew up with 3 boys in the house. I could imagine them feeding us hungry selves. You know what I mean? Grocery bill, outrageous.
Do you guys feel like when you look at your kids, do you see, or even yourself? So let's back up. So when you look at yourself, do you see things from, if your father's in your life, I should say, or was in your life, do you see things that your father did or even your mother did that you now do?
Absolutely.
And now when you look at your kids, do you see things that you do or did in them, whether positive or negative?
Yes.
You've been at 4.
I don't even know. I can't even answer, dog. I don't even know.
Yes.
I guess I say I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. No, like me and my dad when I was growing up, were similar to you and your son Kenny. Like me and my dad are twins. If you see my dad, you be like, oh yeah, that's what's dad.
Yeah, no,
that's his baby.
No question.
Just he just got a gray beard, but that's really about it. We like the same size, all that, same mannerisms, and yeah. But growing up, we were so much alike that we clashed all the time. Like he had a temper, I had a temper, and we would just fight. We would fight, not physically. He didn't put his hands on me, but we would argue. Like I think of a picture, and if my mom's watching, she knows exactly what this picture is. We were down in Texas at my granny's house, which is my dad's side of the family, and we took a family picture. Everybody smiling, but me and my dad. Like I'm in the front, I'm on my knees, just looking like this, like my eyes are red and puffy, and then my dad's holding my little sister, like just bad. Like that was literally like our daily life, bro. Like getting into it, man, getting into it. So, and then it's funny how you mentioned like Kenny, that you your wife is teaching your kids how to cook and stuff like that. Like, that's kind of why I know how to cook and I know how to do like house things, because me and my dad are so much alike that, like, whenever he was teaching me how to, I don't know, fix a car or fix something would happen. Like, he'd be, all right, give me the flathead screwdriver. I'll give him a Phillips or something. He'd be like, no, I said flathead. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And we would just like get into it, man. Like, we would get into it, and I'd be like, man, all right. And then we would just have to separate ourselves. And that's that's to this day, like, that's how I know why I know how to cook. Cause like, I spent so much time with my mom, and like her personality neutralized me. But not to say I still learned a ton from Pops. Like, he was always present, and we touched on like working from home now in the pandemic, but growing up, like, he always had a job working from home. He worked in sales. So he worked in sales. So I can count, man, on one hand, bro, how many events that he missed, how many games he's missed of mine. He was always there, like always there watching. Like, even if it was practice, like if he wasn't coaching my teams, he would be there just watching. Like, man, and that that made it it's so important, like, just to have him there and to have him just like to show that he cares and stuff like that. And especially in the summertime too, like when I was home, like from school, and just like hanging out at the crib, like, he was there, and like, he didn't even have to like be like with us in the room. It's just like just comfort. It was comfort having my dad home.
Comforting
like,
presence.
Right. Like, if something popped off, he's downstairs. He's here. You know what I mean? So and
all he gotta do is be like, hey.
Right, exactly, man.
What y'all doing up there?
Sit down somewhere.
Bro, me and my brother will always just be into some stuff, right? And fighting or whatever, being rowdy. And my mom would be like, y'all stop that. And we, you know how we be, like,
okay, ma.
Yeah.
All right.
We get into it again. And all my dad's favorite line was, cut that mess out.
That's all you need to hear.
That's it, bro.
That's all you need to hear.
That's it. That's the respect that he had in the crib. You know what I mean? And I don't think he would have had that respect if he wasn't around and wasn't present and wasn't invested in us so much. Because he,
I think the same thing for me too. My father was present as much as possible. Like, he worked a ton of hours, but he was around as much as possible. And he was at the games, he was at the sporting events, he was at home, you know what I mean? We went fishing, that's how I learned how to fix so many different things too, was because of him. And and the crazy thing is, because he was an engineer, I said, oh, I'm about to become an engineer too. I didn't even know what an engineer was really like that. You know what I mean? It was dope because my dad did it, you know what I mean? And so I actually started off going to school when I got older for engineering. And then I ended up transitioning to business, but my whole thought process around what I wanted to be, a lot of it came from my father. You know what I mean? And because he was present, now with my own children, I feel like the inner me feels like, man, I need to be there. I don't like missing practices. For my kids' track and field, I don't like missing. I like being there as much as I possibly can, because that it becomes automatic a priority for me. You know what I mean? So it's interesting how twofold, right? For me, that's important because I saw my father. And then you look at D, who has probably overly compensates because his father wasn't there. But then you also have another group, I guess, Ken, that if of fatherlessness, those who don't have a father, and they react because they don't have a father, right? Maybe in a negative way.
How
often do you think that happens?
Well, I think Dion, in his case, like when he's telling the story, I'm like, his brothers, it seemed like his brothers played
True.
that
True.
father role.
True.
So he was blessed to have older siblings. That now brothers can't perfectly fill that void, but it sounds like that's where he got that accountability, that you know what I mean, that attention, that male attention that every child needs.
When they provide that discipline, bro, you feel that you feel where the father should have been. You know what I'm saying? Like when they chastise you for whatever it is that you've done wrong or acting out, like my brothers ain't play, man.
Right. Yeah. And that's so crucial, man. Like that's the other side of a father is, like you just guys said, that discipline, man. I can't, like, me growing up, like I said, 3 boys. And I can imagine, like, my mom had never remarried.
Yeah.
It would have been crazy because my mom couldn't handle us 3 boys by herself. And my heart goes out to the single ladies sometimes because, especially raising boys. Yeah. Because like Wes was saying earlier, like Cal was saying earlier, like, your mom say something, it's like, okay, but it's a whole nother ballgame when dad step in.
Man, put his foot
you know
down.
What I'm saying? My son,
or in you, put his foot down and in you.
Yeah,
right.
in your mouth. Up yo, you
I
know
seen,
what?
I seen kids get, like, you know how people play like well, it's called open chest or whatever. Like they just run past and take the breath out of you. Like I seen fathers discipline like their older kids. Like, oh, so you want to be out here being grown, huh?
Yeah.
One swift one to the chest.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I don't know what parenting technique that is, but it worked for
guerrilla warfare
that
right
was. You know what I'm saying?
Guerrilla tactics.
I think too, fellas, since I'll challenge thought processes, right? So I think there's a difference between being there and being present.
Yeah, big difference.
As a father as well. Like you can have someone there, but not physically present, not physically, but what am I saying? Somebody can be there, but not mentally present with you.
Yeah.
Or emotionally present.
And emotionally present, right? And that's impactful. You have so many people that may be there in the room, but they're focused on whatever they're focused on. They could be focused on social media. They can be focused on sports. They can be focused on whatever is consuming them and not really present for their children. And I think that's impactful too, right? And you guys say, well, when father said something, I listened, but I think if a dad is not fully present in a healthy way, I should say, because there's an unhealthy way where you like, shut up, sit down now. And you're like, oh, I'm scared. You know what I mean? But there's also the healthy way where you tell your child to calm down, sit down, whatever it is. And they listen because you have trained them up in a healthy way. And that's so important too, as well. So my thing, I'll paraphrase it real quick. I think I talked about this before when we did a segment called Parents Just Don't Understand.
I remember that.
You remember that? Remember that, West Ken, Cal, D? I think you probably
I was there.
That. Yeah, and we did that big segment, and we had the kids, the youth, and also the adults really talking. I think the scripture we utilized, I think was one of the scriptures we utilized was train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they should not depart. Right?
Yeah.
So but I referenced something. Was the Black Panther, and I'm paraphrasing like a mug. So one of the main points that the father made to, what was his name? Was it T'Challa? What was his name?
T'Chaka was a dad. T'Challa was.
Okay, so when the dad made to T'Challa, he said, paraphrasing, he said, what type of father would I be if I don't raise my children for my death, basically. Right. And that stuck with me because when I look at myself as a father, my whole goal is to create legacy, and legacy is raising up my child for when I die, they can take off from my shoulders, not beneath my feet. So in everything I do, I'm trying to set them up and say, okay, when I'm gone, you're not going to start at the bottom, but you're going to start from my shoulders. So everything I know, everything the Holy Spirit has taught me, everything that I've learned throughout this journey from my mistakes, I'm going to teach you. So now when I'm gone, you can handle the businesses. You'll know how to create businesses. You'll know how to, you'll have common sense. You'll know right from wrong.
Yeah.
But most importantly, you'll have the Holy Spirit. And that's a legacy to me.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to the beginning when we talked about the difference between dictatorship and leadership. So a good leader prepares their followers for their departure, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
At work, you have a dictator or a manager, right? Somebody that just kind of calls the shots. And then when they leave, the team is just like, we don't know what to do now. But a good leader will train that team to be able to function without them. The best leaders that I've had at work, like, didn't even have to worry about us when he or she was on vacation because we knew what to do. So it should be the same. It should be the same with in fatherhood. Like, I shouldn't even have to worry about Harmony, my daughter. God forbid. Like, hopefully, I have many, many years with her, but I shouldn't have to worry about her when I leave the earth if I'm truly leading her. So
that's real.
That's
and
good.
You know, the hard part with that, fellas, and I'm sorry, Ken, I know you're trying to say something too.
No, you I just said that was good. Go ahead.
I think the hard part though is allowing your kids to make mistakes.
Yep.
And you have to do that early on. Like because you'll see something and then you're like, no, don't do it. Let me grab you. Nope. But sometimes you have to watch them as they make a mistake and allow them to figure it out. Now, granted, I'll have a conversation as a training moment and say, okay, this is why this happened. And you don't want to do this because this will happen. But when they in the moment of it, they have to know how to function and figure things out. And that's how they'll be able to function when they get older too, as well. So I look at every moment as a training moment. So, and that's so hard for me. And I'll be honest with you. I'm being trained up right now as a parent even more every single day. Because I see myself wanting to step in so many moments, but I don't. And that reminds me of how the Holy Spirit is, or how Jesus is with us. I'm sure he can see us getting ready to make a mistake.
That's good.
Yeah.
Getting ready to do something, but he allows it to happen so we can learn.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's so crazy how you can relate the father and as you as a father, how you should be. So to me, I'm learning every day from the father on how to be a father. And that's and sometimes that's hard because I was at the track field the other day. I'll just be real with y'all. I was at the track field. My daughter's getting ready to run a 200 meter. This is her first time ever running. You know what I mean? And she at the line. I'm looking at her like, give me eye contact. Like, look at me. Listen, you want to go. You want to go on this one, right? You see the other girls, they ain't gonna beat you. You gotta go. So she takes off. She's like, all right, dad. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, okay, dad, I got it. I'm telling all these rules.
That motivation.
Line up your legs right. All right. When you come out the box, push. Push on this leg. You know what I mean? I'm getting all the training. All right. And the crazy thing is, she, they say on your mark, you said go. I take off with her.
Oh, yeah.
This is at the track meet. I'm on the parameter.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm running with her the whole 200 meters.
Yeah, that dad motivation.
Yeah.
That's a different level, man.
I'm just telling you, like, as a father, you're like, man, I gotta train you. You gotta go. And but at the same time, God was speaking to me because it was a learning moment because she started going off so fast. And then towards the end, she got tired. And in me, I was like, man, come on, push. And she ended up getting second place since it's her first time ever doing that. And in my mind, I wanted to say, man, how come you didn't push harder? But then God was like, step back. You got to also see what she did do.
Right.
And all the good things she did do in the midst of all of this. And this is her first time doing it. And she did an amazing job expressing love to her in the moment.
Right.
And because I can sometimes see like what you did not do and what you should have done more of, instead of seeing the things that you did so great. And she did a spectacular job, y'all. Like amazing job, y'all. But the Holy Spirit's teaching me that as a father every day is that also instill in your kids, important to your kids, all the great things they do, and stop just focusing on the negative.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes as parents, we get so tired because we're so focused on work and so many different things in life that now we only have a little bit left to give to them. And because we only have a little bit left to give to them, we give them the worst piece of us.
Yeah.
And we have to stop doing that. We have to start giving them the goodness and start speaking life to them. So now when they get older, they'll speak life to their children and not saying, shut up, be quiet, sit down, because that's how they were raised.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna resent you after a while. That's the only way that your parenting style is, because you're setting that trend in the wrong direction when you're focusing on all the negative. So when you empower them, or when you focus on what they are doing right and celebrating them for the wins, they start feeling empowered, and you start enabling those activities and skills that that you're celebrating them.
True.
Yeah.
Some of those things trickle over to when people are older, man, because what y'all talking about, like I see that like within some of my peers, like seeing them with their parents. Like some people hate their parents, some people don't like their father, some people hate their mother. Just that whole dynamic of watching, like sometimes I'm like, dang, what's going on in y'all house? But then it's not my business, but they'll put their business out there. And then it's just like, wow, like this whole, this man's whole family doesn't like him because he's trying to better himself, or his mom is talking down to him because he's trying to become his own, or her mother doesn't like her because she thinks that, she's getting older. She looks a little bit better. She's a little bit more attractive. She doesn't, she doesn't want to have anything to do with it because she thinks she's just going to, I don't know what they think. I don't know, but just watching that stuff, man, it's crazy.
I had to learn that too, Ernest. I'm glad you brought that up, because working with at-risk youth in a residential setting, I learned a lot about that aspect of praising your kids, because a lot of times as a parent, especially when you got little kids, your interactions with them can be most of your interactions sometimes can be negative. Hey, sit down. Hey, stop doing that. Put that down. Don't say that. You know what I mean? Why you break that? And I realized early in my parent, thank God that, I worked with you. So I kind of learned some things even before I had kids, to praise my kids when they do well. Right. Because sometimes as a parent, we get into this mindset, and that's how I was that's how I was raised. And like, that's what you're supposed to do. Oh, cool. You wash the dishes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? But then I started realizing that, like Cal said earlier, my kids can resent me if I never give them positive feedback. You know what I'm saying? Like my son, when he does something good, I say, good job. Good job. I really love how you did that. It makes them feel good, makes them, builds that confidence level up. And it's really like, like Ernest was saying earlier, and what Wes was saying earlier, as far as their fathers being there, that when that relationship is there, the discipline is received better. And
because there's respect there.
Right. And so my son, he can't say, if I praise him and give him positive, he can't say that I only get on him when he's doing something wrong, because I said, good job. So it softens the blow when I say, when I got to get on him about something. You know what I mean? Because I just praise him for X, Y, and Z. So he just heard these positive things. So he knows I'm not just a dictator to him. He knows that I'm really invested and care about his development, because I recognize when you do good things too. You know what I'm saying? So I realize when you cleaned your room, good job. I like how you did your bed. That's good. Good job. Because sometimes we forget that as parents. I have to remind myself. Me and my daughter, she's so dramatic sometimes, and we bump heads from time to time, and me and her can have a day where it's mostly negative reactions, but then I have to be like, when we have battles where I told her to clean the room, and she'd be like, it's too much, or it's too much mess. And I'd be like, Janella, just pick up one thing at a time, or something like that. And sometimes I'll leave the room, and 4 hours later or something, she's still in cleaning room, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, I told you you own enough. You can handle this, but it's like, so having those battles when it's necessary to teach them, but also like when they do good, especially when it's doing good and I didn't have to tell you,
Mhm.
you know, it's like, oh my gosh, good job.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
because they need that as well as they need the discipline, they need that affirmation too.
Exactly.
You know
And
what I
back
mean?
to
Bro,
the
hey,
discipline. Oh, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I gotta cut my seat at the table a little short, man. I gotta back away.
Yes, sir.
You
All
boys
right,
hold
bro.
it down, but I'll just leave y'all with two little scriptures, man, that I was meditating on before the podcast.
For sure.
2 Samuel 7, chapter 7, verse 14, 15. I will be a father to him, and he'll be a son to me. When he does wrong, I'll discipline him in the usual ways, the pitfalls and the obstacles of his mortal life, but I will never remove my gracious love for him. So, yeah, man, I was sitting there chewing on that, man. So do with that what you will. I'm Ghost, man. Nice talking with y'all, man. Love y'all, man. Thank you all for hearing me and my story.
Love you,
Shut
bro.
up.
Word, bro.
All
Ghost,
right,
man.
Catch you on the flip side.
Yes, sir. Yo, Cal, before you change the subject, I want to touch on something that Kenny talked about. So I read this book a long time ago. I don't even know what the book is called anymore and who wrote it, but it was something that resonated with me to this day, really. So on average, a typical girl, right, needs to hear from her father that she's beautiful, right? Yeah. A typical boy needs to hear from his father that he's strong, he's a beast, he's a dog, whatever. That's what we look for. We look for, validation from our father, right?
Validation. Perfect.
And I could tell you, I'm the sports guy, right? So me and my dad's relationship was, a lot of it was sports, because he, obviously he grew up playing sports, played football in college. So I followed in his path. So that's how we connected mainly. So hearing from him before games, after games, during games, he was that crazy dad that was loud, and he's gotten kicked out of like 4 or 5 of my games because he was
ashing right there.
Yeah, but to hear from him, like, can't nobody mess with you, like yelling that in front of everybody, like,
just fires you up,
man.
Yeah, bro.
You know what I'm
gas.
saying?
That's gas right there.
In my baseball games, like when I'm on a pitcher's mound, and he's like, can't nobody hit you. Can't nobody hit you. I'm looking at him like, when your dad is telling you that, it's like, can't nobody hit me. Can't nobody guard me. My dad said nobody can guard me. Therefore, no one can guard me.
It can't happen. Not at all.
You see what that does to your mindset, bro.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, bro.
Yeah.
That can set you on a trajectory on so many levels, man.
Right.
Yeah. Now it's like, it's the confidence is there. It's like you feel empowered to take on the world.
Yeah.
I'm a
For
beast.
real.
My dad said I'm a beast.
I'm a beast. Like in football.
Right.
So Cub football, 3rd and 4th grade. I think they still allow like coaches to be on the field with the players calling plays and stuff like that. So my dad was the defensive coach. So he would get us all together and like tell us what to do. And he was like Ray Lewis, bro. Like Ray Lewis, just like whenever somebody would stick someone,
I love it.
he would jump in the air and be like, yeah. And like he used to like slap me in the back of the head. I just be like, dang. But like that type of stuff, like it's like, man, that motivated me to like please my dad. Like, all right, I'm about to stick this quarterback or pick up this fumble or score this touchdown because my dad loves that. And that type of stuff like carries over to life. Like I love making my mom and my dad happy. So at school, I'm gonna try my best to get an A on this test because I want my dad, I want my mom to be happy for me and smile.
Right.
I want to please them. So
That's teaching you accountability right there.
yeah. Exactly. It's just so important to hear that type of stuff. That you are a beast, you're strong.
Right.
And that was moving to my next point. I was gonna say discipline, but it's like, is there a difference? Because I know it's a difference off top. I was gonna ask y'all, but in the way you discipline your son rather than discipline your daughter, is there a difference in that? Because me and Ernest, you say it all the time, how, you know, our daughters are a little bit more sensitive, so it don't take as much firepower to kind of get them to understand the point. So have you noticed, have I guess I can only ask Kenny and E right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ken.
West pending.
Yeah.
You know what?
No rumor. I don't want to throw no rumors out there.
There's that stereotype where, you know, sometimes, you know, your baby girl is, you know, is wrapped, you know, she got you wrapped around her finger. I ain't having that. You know what I'm saying? I
you say that, Ken.
I ain't having that, bro. You know what I mean?
Teach me the way.
You know what?
Bro.
I learned early in my parenting. Like I said, I always go back to my experience in residential because I learned so much. I praise God for that experience because I learned so much about parenting, dealing with at-risk youth. And one thing I learned is looking past the baby face. You know what I mean? And the kid. Like sometimes kids will do dirty, you know, do you dirty or do dirt, and then just look at you like, oh, well, I'm sorry, can you forget? And it's like, you know, or you learn to kind of not let the what's the word I'm looking for? Not let them manipulate you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So my
That's
daughter, I don't treat my daughter that much different than I treat my son.
In respect to discipline?
In respect to discipline, yeah. I'm a little gentler in some ways. You know, like if I happen to have to spank my kids, which I try to do rarely, but if I won't spank Janella as hard as I might spank Kenny. You know what I mean? Because it's just, you know, she's more fragile. You know what I mean? So I'm a little bit more gentler, but I uphold the same standard. You know, there's a couple of times where I caught myself, you know, like Kenny would do something and the punishment will be swift and harsh. Janella does the same thing. And I'm like, you know, oh, well, Janella, you know, you got to do better next time, you know? And my son called me out on it a couple of times, actually, you know, and I had to say, oh, shoot, he's right. I gotta make sure that I'm keeping the same standard. Now it depends on what it is. And there's an age difference.
Say that though. Yeah, because it's like it's good for both kids to see each other getting disciplined. You know what I'm saying? On the same level.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you don't, you run the risk of them having resentment towards each other. Because it's like, oh, you get special attention from mom and dad, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like they'll come down on you as hard as they come down on me. So it's like I've noticed that too, and I noticed it quick, so I try not to do it. But make sure Junior sees me discipline Sayla, even though she's still, you know, she's only one, but she gets the point. Like I don't even have to raise my voice with her. Like she just knows sometimes when I give her a look, or just she doesn't want to disappoint. Like she's just like that. But yeah, it's important for Junior to see her being disciplined. And so now it's like he's feels empowered to like teach her stuff. And empowered to like watch over her and be like, yeah, you can't do that, because he's watching me discipline her, so he's correcting her too.
Right.
It's funny.
Yeah.
And I think I'm with you. Because I mean, truthfully, I think when it comes to training up my children, I train them all up the same, but I use different techniques. If that makes sense. So my oldest, Amora, she can hear words, right? So I can just be like, Mora, don't do that again. Okay, daddy. That's what it is, right? Seriously. Like, and if I raise my voice, she's like, Dad, I'm so sorry. What did I do? You know, she's that. Ethan.
Man. It's a difference.
It is a
Significant difference.
Ethan ain't doing no okay, daddy. Ethan running around in circles, everything like
He gonna
like,
take it there.
Stop, Ethan, stop. Come here, Ethan. Come here, Ethan. Come here, Ethan.
Yep.
I gotta send him to his room.
Woo.
Hey, I know you know this. You know what I'm about to say.
I know exactly what you're about to say, actually.
Dog. So I was at E's house a couple years ago. And Ethan was probably like 2 years old. And I like Ethan. It took me a long time for him to like open up to me because he was always just like tough, right? So I'm thinking we finally turned the corner, and he's like on the couch, like leaning on me and just like looking at me. I'm like, oh, okay. So he picks up a toy. It was like a little toy car, and he was like, he held it up and like showed it to me. I was like, oh, he's trying to play.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, man. And he like raised it higher and higher. And I was like looking at it like a dummy, bro. I'm just looking at it like, yeah.
That's nice.
And then he just
just
comes down. Yeah, bro. I'm like, what?
No.
I looked at him like Kenny.
For you.
I looked at him like Charlie Murphy with that Rick James after he slapped him. I was just like, what?
Did you just hit me with a toy?
For real?
Man.
And he was just laughing, bro. But I'm like, yo, that's Ethan.
Man. So that's Ethan, right? So Ethan Ethan always thinks you're playing. Growing up, I had to show Ethan like, okay, this is the difference between when we're playing and when dad is serious. And sometimes you can confuse that for a kid too, specifically if you're like me and we're always playing. And it's hard to have a serious moment. So I had to teach him like, okay, this is the play time. This is play dad right here. And this is dad when he's serious. And he's learning that now. And the way I did it though was I had to really sit him down like, listen, E, look at my face. I need you to listen. And I try to make sure I'm at his level and not looking down upon him. And I give him eye contact. And all these things I do intentionally because I want to show him not only how to respect somebody, but also how to be attentive and how to be a good listener and also how to be respectful, all the above, right? So I have to literally do that with Ethan. Amora, I don't, because it's different. Ethan, I do. And then Gracelyn is a mixture of both. Amora and Ethan together. So it's just the technique is just so different with each child. Yeah. But they all see each other get disciplined, but they just see it in a different way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and I think that is so key that discipline happens, but that train up. And this is kind of where I want to hit too, is like, we talk about training up our children from a perspective of a parent speaking to them or disciplining them by sending whatever we do. But we also have to talk about when it comes to training up, you have to lead too. You can't tell your child to do something that you don't do. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's so important. I think a lot of times we try to raise our kids to do things that we do the total opposite, and we become hypocrites ourselves.
Yeah. I catch myself sometimes because, man, you hit a good point. Well, we could talk about fatherhood all day, bro, but I'm gonna keep flowing. I had to catch myself because sometimes I get on my kids about, man, y'all always on electronics. That's all y'all want to do. Be on tablets. Y'all need to take y'all butts outside. And then exactly. Wes is perfect illustration. I look at and my kids will sometimes be like, well, Dad, you be on your phone all day.
Got him.
Right. Got him. I was
like I gave you like a gunshot.
I was like,
yeah, right. You hear that in your head.
Right. Yo, the beautiful thing about kids is they mad honest. They gonna let you know. You know what I mean? Kids can see. Right. They gonna keep it real, and they gonna call you out when you a fraud.
Yeah.
So like my kid, so I had to learn that the hard way. Like I have to model that. You know, because sometimes I'll be on my phone all day, and I'll be like, hey, y'all need to go read. You know, and I'm like, how can I teach them to read daily? Because I try to put a priority of them reading at least 20 minutes a day, right? But how can they learn that if I don't do that myself?
Yeah.
Right.
They're not hearing you. They watching you.
Exactly.
That's really what it is.
Yeah. And
So,
it's a do as I say, not as I do mentality, you know, and that's not as effective as you modeling it and living it out in front of them, you know. And not to switch topics, but Ernest, earlier you asked a question and I didn't have an answer, but now I do. You said, what did your parents not do? Or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And that you had to learn. I had to learn to apologize to my kids.
Wow.
Growing up, I didn't really have that.
That's
you
good,
know, when we were growing up in our generation, I think our parents had more of the mentality of, you a kid, I'm grown, I'm gonna apologize to you. And I had to actually shed that mentality to actually, this goes right into what we were talking about, modeling that, because when my kids do wrong to somebody, I'd be like, yo, you need to apologize. But I had to learn as a parent that, you know, there are times where I make a mistake and I have to acknowledge that and then tell them, hey, I'm sorry, I lost my temper. Or, hey, I'm sorry, Dad shouldn't have said that. That is the best way to model them apologizing and taking responsibility for your own actions. And I had to humble myself as a parent and say, how can I teach them humility when I don't, if I don't do that myself?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was one thing that I had to learn, where it's not a sign of weakness to apologize to your kids. It's a sign of, look, Daddy loves you. Right. Maturity. Daddy loves you and he will make mistakes. And if I do, you know, then I say, hey, my bad. You know, that's, to me, that's so important. And it teaches them, you know, that aspect in such a more effective way. You know what I'm saying?
That's good. And I think that is dope, Ken, because when you are able to use humility and be able to apologize or also admit when you're wrong to your children, now they get older and they are able to do that when they're faced in situations.
Yep.
How many people have you met that are will never say they did something wrong in the midst of doing something wrong? Or how many people you have met will never apologize when they do something wrong because they weren't raised that way?
Right.
And that's so key, because now you can humbly come to situations and be like, man, I messed up, and be able to bounce back from it.
Right.
Yeah.
And some people try to hide their mistakes and never say they're wrong because they don't want to feel like they're not good enough, because maybe they were raised that way. They're always told, you're not good enough. You need to do this better.
Right.
Work harder. You know what I mean? Instead of saying like, man, you're doing great. Or having somebody in their life to say, listen, I messed up. Yeah. I'm sorry. Every moment is a learning moment. And as a parent, we're teaching our kids who have camcorders on through their eyes all day. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So now it's like, man, you apologizing, or you saying you're wrong, or you leading by example as a servant leader, or you walking with your children and actually showing them the moments when they reading a book with them. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that everything you tell your kids to do, you literally have to do it in the moment, but they see my father is about his business, and he's not just talking words, but he's really has action behind it. And that's real right there. And that's, I see the best parenting and the best way to train up.
And when I'm talking about like the different dynamics of having a son and having a daughter, and I was like, one thing, conclusion I kind of came to with my son, just kind of the different ways that I think about parenting them. Just I want my son to be able to respect me, but then my daughter to be able to trust me. I don't know, because I want them to both, respect and trust me, but that's kind of the focal point, I think, with my son. And that starts with being a good leader and leading by example. Because like you said, like we're just talking, do as I say, not as I do. That respect is going to get minimized as he gets older, because he's like, well, Dad just talks to talk, but he doesn't really walk it. You know what I mean? So now it's either going to be, I'm setting a bad example where he's just all talk, or it's like he's going to resent and, maybe find a positive way out of that circle. But I think it's just crucial. And then with my daughter, it's just, I feel like that level of respect is already there. It's just being able to trust dad and being able to learn how to trust and learning how, and I think that's good to set up our daughters with that in regards to trusting, their mate,
Right.
and being able to be confident and being able to trust the mate that they find one day and things like that. Because then we can talk about, the different dynamics of the man being the head of the household and things like that. But when your daughter's ready to make that transition, she'll be in a healthier place to trust a man and be able to know what that example looks like, what a man or a good husband looks like,
Yeah. And I think that respect factor is huge.
Yeah.
So I grew up with people that, friends that didn't really respect their parents at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so like those are the type of kids that when their parents are around, they are totally different people than when their parents aren't around. I mean, every teen is gonna, be sneaky and do their thing. I did my dirt, but I respected my parents. That means that when they weren't around, I was like, all right, I ain't doing that. Like I got my limits. Like my mom would slap the mess out of me if I did that. You know what I mean?
Accountability.
The accountability. Like I respected my mom and dad so much that I'm not gonna be out here in these streets just doing anything, embarrassing them, embarrassing the family name. I think the respect goes a long way that way. So yeah.
That's so true. That's so true. We talk a lot about boys, but just like Kyle was touching on, man, raising a girl has been such a learning experience for me, man. I grew up with all boys. I mean, I had sisters. I had a stepsister. She wasn't, I didn't see her all the time. And then I have two baby sisters now, but they weren't born until I was already like 14 years old. So a big chunk of my life was just boys. And when it's just boys, a lot of times all you know is sports. All you know is, growing up watching wrestling, the aggressive boy stuff.
Yep.
So when I had my girl, that's all I knew. So now I got a little girl that they ain't really into sports like that. But she wants to get into dance. She wants to get into gymnastics. And I'm learning how to I have to, as just as supportive as I am when my son says he wants to play basketball, I have to be just as supportive as her when she says she wants to do dance. But it's a more of a push on myself to do that because I never want to be so excited for what my son is doing, and then my daughter, I'm like, really don't want to see her do gymnastics because I don't really care for it. But you know what I mean? Like I have to push myself to say, hey, I got to be just as in her corner for what she wants to, what she wants to do too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because my son is like, I want to play football. I'm like, yeah, let's go throw the football in the yard. Let's go work on passing, catching
about those things.
Right. And the thing is, I don't really know anything. I don't know anything about gymnastics. Like I have to really rely on somebody else to teach her that because I don't really know nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? So, and raising a girl too, what I've learned, Cal, is like you said, man, I have to model in front of her as best I can what kind of man she should be looking for.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because think about it. Like when we were on the dating scene, a lot of times you look for in your girl what your mom was. And I think the same way with our girls. And sometimes you go have girls without fathers that don't have that. Template to kind of say, you know what, because they didn't have that father figure in the home to kind of know what they should be looking for in a man.
Measure up. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, that's so important for me to teach them, like, look, this is what, if he ain't doing this, or if he not this kind of man, or if he's not, loving you like this, you know what I mean? You need to keep moving because, go Go ahead, E.
I think that speaking of that topic, and I know we can talk about a ton of different topics, but speaking to that topic specifically, I think I'm my perspective on how I see it. I think if your daughter or daughters see you in the light of being a great father and a great man, they're going to try to find somebody just like you.
Mhm.
But if your daughter sees you in a negative light and not being a good father to her, or however she sees you, she's going to try to find someone opposite of you.
Yeah.
And I think that's impactful because I think that as you raise up your child and your daughter is connected to you, whether she agrees with, in the moment of growing up, whether she agrees with you or not. We know that when we're a kid, we don't always agree with our parents. We thought they were wrong. Man, I can't wait till I get older. You know what I mean? We all want to be 20 something years old. And then you get 20 something year old, you be like, man, dang.
I had the good life.
Right. I gotta work every mean. I gotta go buy my own food.
Right.
You know what I mean? Things start to shift. But when you're young, you just want to be old.
Yeah.
When you're old, you just want to be young. You know what I mean? But I think that is so key. And I told myself, I said, as I'm raising my kids up, having those vulnerable conversations with them is key, but also talking about things that I didn't talk about much growing up is key as well. For example, talking about dating early on and what healthy dating really looks like, courting, I should say, or healthy relationships, I should say, more than anything, looks like. Talking about the topic of sex.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? How many parents really talk to their children at an early age about sex? And and what happens is this: a lot of times parents are afraid to say anything or even mention anything or not even know how to talk about it. And who talks about it with them first? It's
the homies
at school.
Yep. Exactly.
And that's exactly where they get their viewpoints from.
Yeah.
So I always say, okay, as a father, I try to analyze what are the things that they're going to receive at school or from their friends and things they're talking about now. And how can I have a conversation with them prior to an ongoing conversation? It's not just one. And Ken, you and I used to talk about this all the time. It's like, you can't just have one conversation and believe the world's going to be different for your child. And you can still have conversation. They might make different decisions. Don't get me wrong, but it's the ongoing conversations that really are going to be impactful, because this is something you guys talk about all the time. And then from there, as something happens, I remember when things used to happen, I used to think about my mom or dad used to say in the midst of the moment, I'm like, no, I ain't going to do that because my mom and dad told me about this and that. You know what I mean? So because we talked about it so much, I didn't do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think those are key things, is that having those dialogues with your kids prior to other kids or the school or the world system dictating how they should be is necessary.
Yeah.
I can imagine that could be pretty uncomfortable having those conversations, but definitely fruitful.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine as well, because my daughter's only 9 months, so I would imagine as well that would invite more openness in your relationship and your child being comfortable coming to you if they made a mistake or if they did something that is against the family values, the Christian values, instead of hiding it.
Yeah, that's so good, bro. We have to be able to make ourselves available to our kids, like you guys are talking about, emotionally. And it's so crucial that we're able to. I had to learn as a parent that I can't shield my kids away from everything.
Yeah.
Just like when we were kids and we found our way, right? I wasn't supposed to be listening to like earlier we were joking about Eminem, right? I wasn't supposed to be listening to Eminem, Marshall Mathers LP, but I found a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Our kids are going to find a way. And we didn't even have all the technology that we have now, but with technology nowadays, it's like they're going to discover it either way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had to learn, and one of the bitter pills to swallow as a parent was like, I can't shield my kids from everything. They got friends, they got other family members, cousins, that they're going to hear things. So it's not about as much as, obviously I shield them from the obvious things. Yeah. We don't expose our kids to rated R movies, you know what I mean, and all that kind of good stuff. And obviously certain music is just like, there's a no in the house. But I had to learn that as a father, one important part of my job is to process those things with my kids. One of the crazy things, and I always touch on this when it comes to like hip hop. Sometimes our kids think about the hip hop that we grew up listening to. You know what I mean? How much misogyny that was in it, how much violence that was in it, how much that stuff was glorified. And some people grow up without fathers to be able to process that,
that raises them.
Right, exactly. It raises them. And, I remember my son, because he was like, he's heavy into YouTube and I have to monitor it heavily because, you can just stumble upon any kind of video on YouTube by accident. So I remember one time he got in trouble at school. I think they were listening to some song because they have their times on their Chromebooks. And I guess him and his friend was being silly and, they snuck on Spotify or something like that, or YouTube or something like that. And, I guess it was some song that had some cuss words in it. I guess they were rapping it or whatever. I don't know. So then I'm like, all right. So my head, a lot of scenarios went through my head of how to deal with it, and part of me was like, man, you should get on him for even listening to that song. He know that's not allowed in the house. And I started realizing, like, remember, Kenny, as a kid, you used to be the same way. You was listening to music that if your parents heard that, they would have, you know what I mean? Like, so, right. And so I started learning, I started realizing, okay, let me take the time to process this with him. So I was like, okay, so like I pulled up the song on YouTube and he came home and he was already scared because he knew he had to talk with me.
Yeah.
Because, somebody, makes a phone call to the parent from school, you know what I'm saying? So he's like, oh shoot. So, but
I already rehearsing the conversation before you get
right,
home.
Right. And the thing is, I didn't even yell at him. I wasn't even angry. He just came home and I said, he gave me the rundown of what happened. And I said, come here, Kenny. And I said, show me the song that you were listening to. And he was like, no, Dad. I said, hold on, no. Don't be scared now. Play the song so I can hear it. He was like, he started crying already. I wasn't even mad at him. I wasn't even yelling. I just said, play the song for me. I want to hear the song. So then he ended up finding the song and playing it, and the lyrics was foul. And so I would pause it and I'm like, do you know what he just said?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I said, do you know what he's talking about? And like that for me was a learning experience because I didn't just like bash him like, you're never getting on YouTube ever again, or like, I'll never want to hear you listen to this music ever. I was like, do you even know what he's talking about? I was like, yo, he talking about this and he talking about that. And he's like, this stuff is destructive to your mind, And I was like, you 9 years old. Well, at the time he was 8. But I'm like, you 8 years old. Like, this ain't got you. You don't need to be hearing this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And the dude was talking about sex. He mentioned like sex and he mentioned like, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, you don't even know what he's talking about. Yeah. And I started saying like, look, I know some songs are catchy. Because even when we were growing up, and I was a Christian as a teenager, and I remember how catchy the songs that I shouldn't be listening to were. You know what I mean? So it's like I try to come with a mind of understanding. Like I understand, like that song is mad catchy, or the lyrics to that song is mad catchy. But look, man, this you got to. This stuff is dangerous. So processing that with him, man, I think it was to me was a more effective approach. Yeah. Than just like, oh, you're done with YouTube, like that. Yeah. And being more tighter, because sometimes when you're too tight, then that's when they try to like find ways to sneak around.
And bringing it back to relationship with God, as that fatherly relationship. God, it rains on everybody. We don't hope to just get out of situations. God leads us through situations and we come out stronger and, more filled, and to be able to empower others on their journey and their walk, and our children on their walk. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's the best way to lead and teach, is to allow them, like you said, to go through those mistakes, dissect it, and talk about it, have dialogue, and just, it does something for their mental too, because now they know how to talk it out. They know how to dissect, and they're not just, influenced by the world. They're like, okay, now I'm conscious of what I'm listening to in this song, because dad went through that message with me. Yeah. So now he's more conscious of what he's listening to. Right. And that was just a seed you sowed. Not to say that it's going to be, he ain't going to listen to another song or nothing, but it's like now you sowed that seed to where he's conscious of what he's listening to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I was going to say, going back, and then I'll let you jump in.
Take your time.
Ernest, you touched on something earlier. Dang it, I lost it. You said, so we can only teach them so much. We teach them as much as we can, and we hope and we pray. That's why prayer comes in. We got to pray over our children, man. We have to pray over our children on a daily, because we teach them as much, but it's up to them to put into action what we teach them. Because as a parent, I got it now. Ernest was talking about how we sometimes want to shield our kids away from their own mistakes. And I think sometimes we can get into a habit as a parent to coddle our kids. And at the end of the day, we're handicapping them. We have to allow them to bump their head and not always rescue them from bumping their head. Because, I don't want my baby to get hurt. But that's how they learn. And a big phrase I have in my house is figure it out. That's one thing I say in my house a lot, because sometimes my kids, well, Daddy, I don't know how to do that. And and as a father, I say, well, I could go do that for them, or I can go fix that for them.
Well, but is that going to excel them?
Yeah. Exactly. So my mindset is, let me help them to learn. And I'd be saying, I just look at my kids sometimes, I say, figure it out. And I just walk away sometimes.
But you're teaching them how to learn. You're teaching them how to critically think, solve problems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just take it, you're switching it.
Yeah, exactly. And I always tell them, because that gets their brain juices flowing. Because they're always looking for me to do something for them. I'm like, no, you can do that. You got it. Figure it out.
I got a funny example too. It's like back to the video games, man. It's like you can use anything you want, man. Like,
right.
And it's like when I would play with Junior, and he, for example, Rocket League. I don't know if you guys played that game before, but it's basically you play soccer, but you're a car.
I play that with my son too.
Yeah, bro, he love it. But he would get so frustrated. It's like, Dad, I can't score. I can't do it. And I'm like, yes, you can. Just take a second, and just practice it. And now when he figures out he can do it. Now I see a difference in the way he plays now. So when he's losing or when I score on him or something like that, he's like, oh man, okay, all right, we can do it. I can do it. I got this. Then he talks to the controller. Come on, controller, we can do this. But it's hilarious. But it's like you can see his mind working. Like, okay, the confidence is building. It's like I can do this. I just gotta keep focused, keep practicing, and eventually I'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just foundational.
For sure.
They start so young, bro.
They do, especially nowadays, man. Ernest, did you have something you wanted to contribute?
Yeah, real quick. I know we're at the time limit here too as well, but I was just thinking, like, I'm always thinking, y'all. So I apologize if my mind goes everywhere all the time. But I was just I got two things. You funny, y'all. You funny. It's not gonna be that deep. I ain't gonna get all deep right now at the end of a podcast.
Here come a challenge.
Y'all, this podcast holds me back a little bit though. Y'all keep me in a structure. Y'all keep me in a box a little bit. But anyways, I was just thinking, like, as a father, there's so much pressure as a parent because you want to do things right. You want to raise your child up right. You want them to excel. You want them to be successful. You want them to do well in the crazy world system that we're currently in, and that's getting worse and worse, specifically for a Christ follower. And you want them to be an amazing child that just doesn't have any issues in life. You do, naturally, right? But from a parent perspective, what helped me with that weight was, number one, I had to realize I'm not in this alone. Now, my wife carries the burden with me, don't get me wrong, but the biggest burden is carried by Christ alone. Right. So I had to sit back and say, okay, I'm not going to be perfect at this. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not going to always say the right things. I may not always make the right decisions, but where I find peace is that if in my decision, if I seek the Lord first, if I have that prayer life where I'm asking God to lead me every step of the way because I don't know what I'm doing, I find peace that the Father will lead me.
Amen.
I find peace as I trust, as I abide in the Father, he abides in me. I find peace in knowing that he's walking this journey. The Heavenly Father is teaching me how to be a father. And that's where I find rest. And I say that all to say is that I know there are people out there that are new parents or even been parents for years, and it's hard. It's extremely hard. When I went from 1 to 2 kids, we went from oh, we got this. Carmen and I had zone defense on 1. I was like, oh, we good. Then the second one came. We're like, all right, man to man, we did that. I did that in basketball. I'm cool. But then when we got the third one, I was like, I've never been a zone defense player. Right. So I never liked zone. You know what I mean? And it's hard. Don't get me wrong. But I think where Carmen and I find our peace is that as we allow God to do a work in us and teach us, we allow the Holy Spirit to show us how to teach them.
Yeah.
And that's where I find rest.
Amen.
That's where I find peace. But that's just what's been going on in my mind. And then the second thing, family, is that we talked about earlier before we started this podcast, talking about TV dads. Is that all right, Ken? Can we talk about that? Is that all right? Unless you got something else.
Let's get it.
Let's get it real quick. All right. So I'll throw it out there. Top 3 TV dads. Go ahead. What y'all think?
Go ahead, Wes.
Yeah, Wes. Wes probably already know.
First off, rest in peace, Uncle Phil.
I'm with it.
Uncle Phil's my guy. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is my favorite show of all time, so I gotta throw him in there. The fact that he was a dad that put in work. He was a judge, so he was putting in hours, but he still spent time with his kids and gave Hillary $300 whenever she needed. And he took in Will, you know what I mean, and took him in as his own. And so Will even said, like, I learned a lot from him, his character as a father, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that speaks volumes. Number 2, I'm gonna go with Michael Kyle from
My Wife and Kids.
My Wife and Kids.
Yeah.
I always joke with Bree. Yeah, I always joke with Bree.
Sleeper.
I'm like, yeah, bro. I always joke with Bree, saying I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna teach our kids lessons like he does. Basically, just like embarrassing them or playing tricks on them or humiliating them. So I love Michael Kyle, bro. Shout out to Damon Wayans.
Shout out.
And then we talked about this off air. This is controversial, but I don't care. Shout out to Bill Cosby. even though I don't agree with what he did, you can debate about that all day. But you can't deny that Heathcliff Huxtable. You can't deny that the Cosby Show is one of the greatest, not just Black shows, but TV shows of all time.
Agreed.
Heathcliff Huxtable learned many lessons from him, and hilarious. Didn't have to cuss to be funny,
man, that's what I love.
So
it's true.
Those are my solid top 3.
I'm with it.
Solid.
I'm with it. I think it's solid. You know what? What about Andre Johnson?
Bro, he's an honorable mention. He's number 4. He's number 4.
Honorable mention.
He's number 4.
Oh, man.
Hold on, y'all gotta remind me who that is.
Blackish.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I did watch a few episodes of that show. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I liked him a lot too.
Dre.
Yeah, Dre. All right.
His character actually made me like, because I didn't really mess with Anthony Anderson like that until Blackish. So that his role made me like him.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the family dynamics on that show, man, with Blackish too as well, and seeing them evolve as a family, man.
And we can touch on his relationship with his dad and how that affected him. We could talk about that for
that's
hours.
real.
Yeah.
And then you looked at the Cosby Show, and the dynamic of having all those children and how they were as a parent, as parents was amazing too. Because I mean, he's the first, the Cosby, I watched that a lot because of the life experiences that you can relate to.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I mean, we ain't doctors and lawyers in this house, you know what I'm saying? But and they were like rich.
Yeah.
But he had real dialogue. Like his son in the first episode was like, "Man, mom is a lawyer. Dad, you are a doctor." And he's like, "Y'all just put too much pressure on me."
Right.
You know what I mean? He's like, basically, he was like, "I can't live up to the expectation.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not meant to get good grades in school, blah, 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 blah." And my man response, he was like, "Man, that was the dumbest thing I've ever heard."
Dumbest thing I ever heard.
He said that was the dumbest thing I ever heard.
You thought he was gonna say something deep, like touching.
Yeah, I thought so too. I can rock with this.
I remember that.
Yeah, man. I was like, this is real, man.
He
So
says, "Son, I am your father. I brought you in this world. I could take you out."
Man, it's controversial, but the show is good, man. The show itself is solid for what was depicted within the show, and it was respectful. So
Definitely.
I put Heathcliff in my top 3 for sure.
Yeah,
the Huxtables for sure. What else?
So Ken, go ahead, Cal. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm
so
next.
Ken, no. I was gonna ask you. I mean, I know we are at time. I know you want to leave us with some type of challenge of the.
That was your job.
Day? Well, that's me?
Yeah, I thought that was coming up next. The challenge of the day. You paused. I was like, okay.
I can. But, hey, before I do that, you want to say something, Cal?
No, I was just gonna give you the top 3 because I think I had a sleeper pick.
Oh, who you got?
My sleeper pick was Flex Washington from 101.
Oh,
Flex.
Oh, Flat Hat.
He was a single dad in that show, right?
He was, man. He held it down for Brianna. He held it down.
Yeah. That's an interesting perspective too of the life of a single dad.
Man.
You know what I mean? That's an interesting. I think I know a couple single dads, but I don't know too many of them.
And it was an interesting perspective with the daughter too. It's like, it's like a son or a father and his daughter relationship.
Because at first, I just recently watched it. You watching everything on quarantine, so.
Well, we watched like every season. It's like 10 seasons, bro.
Like I watched it as a teenager. Obviously, thought it was hilarious, great show, but as a 31-year-old, you watch stuff in a different perspective. So I did notice, like at the beginning, he struggled a lot and like was like just trying to be her friend and was trying to do whatever she wanted to do, and like it just wasn't working. And he kind of had to progress into being a father, more of a father and less of her friend. But then towards the end, he was able to find that perfect blend of being a father and a friend. So,
and that was one point I wanted to touch on before we like sign off and wrap it up. But like being a father, one thing it did was gave me purpose, you know, because I feel like we walk through life looking for purpose. You know, not to say that my marriage didn't give me purpose, it definitely did, but I feel like my kids took it to a whole nother level where I started to see purpose in other areas. So it kind of opened me up, but now everything is important now. Cause like we talking about these moments, every moment is important, and it's just part of purpose, and it gives you reason to get up in the morning, reason to live. And so if we have enough of those things in our lives, and you know, children, that's the majority of our life right there. That's 18 years for sure of you know, teaching and training and setting an example. And once I found out that once they start to realize, okay, that's what purpose is. So now you feel more passionate about what you're doing in your children's life.
So y'all forgot Carl Winslow.
Winslow.
One of my favorite TV dads.
Carl Winslow.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a rare condition this day and age.
Hey, you know what I thought about? Swear on everything I thought about this. That we make a funny video with that song.
Yeah.
And we do like one of those 90s sitcom intros.
Look at the camera.
We can do it.
Right.
Clean the car.
Right.
We could do it.
I thought about doing it as like a funny video for the show.
Oh my
funny,
God.
man. Let's
Yeah.
do
Carl
it, man.
Winslow.
Let's
Carl
do it.
Winslow.
Yeah, man. One of my favorite TV dads, one of my favorite shows of all time, period.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carl Winslow was holding it down as a police officer in the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
know
He had a
what I
rough
mean?
job, man. That's a rough job.
You want to know who a horrible father was?
Who was that?
Frank Mitchell from Moesha.
Oh my gosh. Dude
Terrible.
was soft.
Terrible
It was
dad,
too
bro.
soft. Too soft.
Bro, I feel like his character was nothing but lies and just selfishness, and like, yeah, he loved Moesha, but oh my gosh, bro, he was out of control.
Man, Moesha.
Moesha was out of control.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it had a big effect on her. Like, he was out of control.
Right.
Like, man, Ray J came in the show, he was out of control, and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden Ray J was his son. It's like, what? And then
What's going on?
yeah,
For sure.
It's crazy.
So I guess, man, like, I guess my only challenge per se to anybody listening, by the way, is this Tribe Table Talk podcast. And we touched a lot about fatherhood and the many different aspects. And we can probably go for another 2 hours on this topic because it encompasses so many different things. But man, anybody who's watching, man, if you are a father or maybe you are about to be a father, just understand your impact on your children that you will have. And, you know, I know everybody that's watches is not necessarily a believer, but man, it's so important to abide in the Father in order for you to be the best father possible. And, you know, continue to strive every day to be the best father you can for your kids. You're not going to get it all perfect. You're not going to get it all right. I don't care if you're listening and you got a, you know, if you're like Wes and you got a 9-month-old or you got a 17-year-old. Continue to model that behavior that you want to see in your kids. And for anybody who watched and really was like, yo, I can relate. You know, I was one of those people that you guys talked about that didn't have a dad. You know, drop a comment, you know what I mean? Tell us your experience. Tell us how much you've learned, how much you've grown, you know, what you had to overcome. And we'll definitely, you know, spend some time in prayer at the end over anybody who's listening who really was just, you know, really was touched by some of the things that we talked about.
absolutely.
But yeah, any other closing words?
Yeah, I want to say, I think I speak for the table when I say our hearts are with those that have lost their father recently.
Amen.
Or their mother. And our hearts are with the people that, you know, didn't have a father in their lives. We want to just make sure that we acknowledge those people and know that, you know, our hearts are with you and you're in our prayers. And yeah, so we just want to acknowledge that for sure.
And that our Heavenly Father is the perfect example of what a father should be. The closer we get to him, closer we understand what it means to be a father. You know, for those who don't have or never grew up with a father, that's where you can learn how to, you know, father's love for sure.
And I believe that
I only tell you what I know.
And I'm with you, Cal, too. And I believe that every void that you have witnessed in your life from not having a father, or everything that your father that was present with you was not able to teach you, that the Heavenly Father will fill all those voids. And that's my prayer, that everything that you're lacking, everything from insecurity you could be dealing with, or lack of confidence, or any type of struggles that you have that may be inherited, that you don't even know about. I believe that the Heavenly Father will deal with those issues for them as you allow him to.
Yeah.
And if you feel loneliness, if you feel hurt, if you feel pain from not having your father, or your father wasn't fully present, allow the Heavenly Father to deal with those issues and he will make you whole.
Amen. Amen. Only Christ can fill that void. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That's good stuff, man. You guys really said some. I feel like this was a really good conversation.
Yeah, it's powerful.
You know what I mean? Yeah, man. Remember, as fathers, we are our family's protectors. You know, we are the covering. So continue to be that, man. Yeah, man. So I guess I'll just leave it out in prayer real quick. Father, we just thank you for this second episode, Lord. I pray for every person who's able to view this, that whether they're a father, I pray that you strengthen them to be the best father that they can be for their kids, the best leader they can be for their family possible, God. Give them the blueprint, Lord. There's no manual for being a parent. But Lord, I thank you that your word gives us so much guidance. And I pray that you will help us as men to be that example, to model that behavior for our kids, to raise up excellent children, that they will go out and be better than we ever were, God. I pray for every person that may watch this that didn't have a dad growing up. Maybe they do have that void. I pray that you would touch their hearts, God. I pray that they will give their hearts to the Heavenly Father, Lord, if they haven't already, Lord. And I pray that you will you will fill that void. And I pray that you will help them to connect with other men that can love on them, that can train them up, that can disciple them. And I pray that us as men, that you will help us to disciple our children, Lord. Let us be the primary teachers. Let us mold our kids in a way that will, prepare them for when we're gone. So I just thank you for every person listening, every person watching. Let this be a blessing to them. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
Yo, if you're still watching, make sure you share. Do us a favor. Share this episode with
share
at least 10 people in the comments. Tag them in your sharing, whatever. Thank y'all for your support and riding with us.
No doubt. Love y'all. Peace.
One time for the one time.